In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at all 12 of Formula E's teams, all 24 of Formula E Season 6 drivers. So sit back, make sure you've got a drink, a nice cup of tea, a nice soft beverage, whatever you fancy. This is going to take a while, and you might look at the length. I totally understand. Over 30 minutes, that's a long time. But we've got to cover 24 drivers, so even just a minute each, it's going to be 24 minutes. So I've tried to keep this as concise as possible. I've also got help from a few friends throughout the video, but if you're new around here, I'll say this now and then we'll crack on. If you are new and you want to keep up to date with all of Formula E Season 6, feel free to subscribe. But I think, without further ado, we'll get into the first team, and it's a team that is brand new to the sport, a team that I imagine has got many of you interested in the sport for Season 6, and that's Mercedes-Benz EQ. As you can see, it says there's 13 races and 1 podium. The reason for this is last year in Season 5, and just a side note, I'm going to treat this video as if you've never seen Formula E before, just in case you have never seen Formula E before. But last year, Mercedes did a trial run year with the team HWA Race Lab. They've now evolved into the Mercedes A team, so Mercedes-Benz EQ. Last year, their drivers were Stoffel Vandoorne and Gary Paffett. The team finished 9th overall. Stoffel Vandoorne did manage to pick up a podium in Rome, a really strong race actually from Vandoorne in Rome. He also got a pole position in Hong Kong, so pace was there on occasion, but as you can see, out of the 11 teams, finished 9th, and out of the 22 drivers, it was 16th for Vandoorne and 19th for Gary Paffett. For Season 6, they've retained Stoffel Vandoorne, which is no surprise to anybody. Won the fan boost in every single race last year, and also, more importantly, he's quick. He knows how to drive a car. Like I mentioned a second ago, picked up a podium in his first season of Formula E and a pole position, which in a car that was pretty pants, I think was a really strong season from Stoffel Vandoorne, and I really think he's going to be able to become this team leader that he's been morphing into over the last couple of years in Formula 1 and Formula E. And I think this year, whilst the Mercedes car I don't expect to be right up near the front, we saw that in testing, you can check out my testing report, I think Vandoorne's going to be the talisman of this team. Alongside him, a more inexperienced driver, surprisingly. So Vandoorne has only got 1 season under his belt. His teammate is a rookie. I'm sure you all are far aware of this man, Nick de Vries, the Formula 2 champion for 2019. So he's still got 1 more round to go of Formula 2, but I believe he's sitting that one out. He's already won the championship, so he doesn't need to show up. No races, no podiums, no wins, fair play. But this man, I mean, you don't become Formula 2 champion if you don't have some speed in your back pocket. And I think with being an ex-McLaren junior driver, the same as Stoffel Vandoorne, I think these two are going to have a really good relationship, but a really quick one as well. Moving on to our second team we're going to be talking about today, Audi Sport Abt Schaeffler. A really long name, so over the season you'll hear me refer to them as Audi. Yeah, that happens a lot in Formula E, you'll get used to it. Many long team names, but usually you can shorten it down to just one. A really unique team, Audi, in the sense that they've been in every single Formula E race, but what I find even more bizarre, but kind of lovely, is that they've had the same driver lineup since Season 1. Since the very first race, Lucas di Grassi and Daniel Abt have been the 2 drivers piloting their car, which I think is pretty awesome. Looking at the statistics as well, they're not too bad either. In the 58 races, 40 podiums between their 2 drivers, 12 victories. In Season 4, became team's champion. However, last year it was taken away from them from Techeetah. Lucas di Grassi finished 3rd last year. Daniel Abt finished 7th, but di Grassi is their main man. He's been the one picking up the victories of the team's 12 victories. He's had 10 of the team's 40 podiums. He's had 30. As the same with Daniel Abt, he's been in every single race of Formula E. But Lucas di Grassi was our Season 3 champion, and last year was in the hunt right down to the wire. one of only just 3 drivers to pick up multiple victories last year, got that very emotional and incredible race in Mexico, just taking it from Pascal Wehrlein on the final corner, just past the final corner, the final straight. He is going to be one to watch this year, and expect him, even in an Audi car which might not be up to scratch, I expect him to be in the title hunt. And a man that some people felt probably overstayed his due in Formula E, Lucas di Grassi's teammate Daniel Abt. Finished 7th last year overall in the standings. No victories. The season before he picked up 2 victories. However, I think what Abt proved last year was he's a consistent driver. He's not necessarily going to be that man who gives you that bit of fire, that bit of edge that Lucas di Grassi is going to be able to give you. But what he is a number 2 driver that can deliver on a regular basis, and there's definitely potential there to win races. Let's hear his thoughts for Season 6.
I think we keep saying that year after year, how amazing it is to be part of the series and where it has all gone for us. But yeah, I think this year really is another step with 2 manufacturers joining again. All the cars looking fresh and fancy, and of course everyone wants to win. So I think the fans can really expect a big battle, and I'm really happy and excited to be here again with Audi.
The next team on our list takes us to Envision Virgin Racing, but shorthand, just Virgin, that's what most people call it. Drivers Sam Bird and Robin Frijns sticking with the same lineup as last season in Season 5. The team finished 3rd overall. Not a bad job, picking up 3 wins in the process. 2 of those victories came for Robin Frijns, his first year with the team. Teammate Sam Bird had a really good start to the season, was leading up to a certain point, got a victory in Santiago, Chile. However, the second half really didn't pay out for him. Really struggled and ended up 9th. Frijns ended up 4th, but I've got to say, in pre-season testing, Virgin are looking good. The 2 drivers have already come out multiple times and said they believe they've got a championship winning car. So I'm confident for them. 10 wins, 25 podiums, and they have raced in every single race in Formula E. They've also done every single race with this man in the cockpit. Sam Bird, the British hero in Formula E, I think is more than fair to say, is one of just 2 drivers to have won a race in every single season of Formula E. The other man is Lucas di Grassi that we spoke about just a moment ago. As I mentioned as well, Sam Bird had a really difficult end to Season 5, and I expect him to bounce back, and I expect Sam to be not only hungry to win the championship, but the rapport he has with his teammate Robin Frijns, those 2 get on so well, and I expect them to push each other right to the end. And I think they could be the dark horses for Season 6. Robin Frijns himself, actually, I was mega impressed with this man in Season 5. He joined Virgin after a year out of Formula E, and at the time, I thought it was a brave decision. However, 2 victories, 1 in Paris in the only wet race in Formula E's history, hailed in that race as well. A really difficult race, and yet Robin was driver of the day by a country mile, dominated the field, and I think really proved his worth as the season went on. He also won the very last race of the season, another race, a faultless drive. 35 races in his Formula E career. He's driven for a few different teams now. 5 podiums, all of them coming last season, and 2 victories also coming last season. Moving on to another team that has been here since day one, Mahindra Racing. They're another team that is keeping the exact same lineup from last season. Well, for the most part. Pascal Wehrlein and Jerome D'Ambrosio were the 2 drivers that did most of the races last year for them, finishing 11th and 12th respectively in the championship, which is a bit of a surprise considering where they were at the beginning of the year, but we'll talk about that when we break down each individual driver. Pascal Wehrlein didn't come into the sport until 2019. So the one race we had in 2018, it was actually Felix Rosenqvist that was in the car. But no, both drivers will be doing the full season this time round. 18 podiums in their 5-season history, 4 victories, Not a single victory last year for Pascal Wehrlein. However, Jerome D'Ambrosio did pick up a victory in the second race of the season in Marrakesh. 6th overall in the standings though, for a team that at one point were on the verge of a driver's title. I think they'll be a little bit disappointed with how last season went. Especially this man, Jerome D'Ambrosio, was on a bit of a limb. Looked like he was going to be pushed out of Formula E last year, but was given a chance with Mahindra. And like I say, in that second race, picked up a victory and for the majority of the season was leading. I believe up to round 7 out of 13, he was leading the championship. It was very small margins, but this man was one of those drivers that really got hurt in qualifying, how the qualifying system works, but put in some stonking performances, always getting into the top 10. A driver that went under the radar for sure last year, but D'Ambrosio, 3 victories, 9 podiums, has raced in every single Formula E race. I think he will do well. Pascal Wehrlein, I think he'll be disappointed with how last season went, but although he's only got 1 podium and no wins, I really think he had a much better season than the statistics suggest. 2nd place in Chile, fighting right down to the wire with Sam Bird. Mexico, that incredible race that was snatched away from him on the final lap. Paris, pole position, got disqualified because there was a certain irregularity within the car. Completely not his fault. Started from the back. Lots of things last year that Pascal Wehrlein just went against him, but that's the point of a rookie year. You learn these things, and I think he'll definitely come back this year stronger. Nissan EDAMS. Technically, this is an EDAMS team, so they've raced as a team in every race since Formula E began. However, for season 1, 2, 3 and 4, they were known as Renault EDAMS. Last year they evolved into Nissan, and actually, I think they had the best car over the season, and I actually wrote a feature article about it over on Formula E Zone, so you can feel free to check that out if you'd like. I did that one, I believe, just after the Mexican E-Prix. But Nissan, for their first full year, 4th in the Constructors, ahead of the likes of Mahindra, I think they can be very proud of. Ollie Rowland, in his rookie year, 10th in the standings, but Sebastian Buemi, up in 2nd, claiming the team's first win as Nissan in the final weekend of the season in New York. However, the EDAMS team have had 16 wins and 32 podiums. The star has been Buemi. However, this man, Ollie Rowland, really tried to shake things up last year and I think did a really good job. A little bit like Sam Bird, had a really strong start to the year. Multiple pole positions actually for Ollie Rowland over the season. Almost had a victory in Sanya, but Jean-Eric Vergne eventually got the better of him on that day. However, 2 podiums over the course of the season, and a little bit like Pascal Wehrlein, was learning, did make a few mistakes, but then you can look at races like Mexico, and they didn't go his way. Ollie Rowland, I felt, was always a little bit unlucky to not make it into Formula 1. I was really impressed with him in his fight with Charles Leclerc in Formula 2 a couple of years back, but I think he really could be a special driver in Formula E. However, he's up against the Grand Champ, the master himself, Sebastian Buemi. He doesn't have the most titles. He's only got 1 title, Sebastian Buemi, and that was in Season 2, driving for Renault EDAMS. He's always been with the EDAMS team. However, this man has the most victories in Formula E. Doesn't have the most podiums or the championships, but has the most victories at 13. He's a special talent. Most of us know him from his days in Formula 1, and while Season 5 was a return of the king almost, Season 4 was victoryless. Last year got better and better, and I think Sebastian's really looking forward to another strong year with Nissan.
I'm happy to be back. We've had a tough break, because we had to revert to a single motor, so we had to change everything on our car. So at the end, we are quite happy to be here. Nissan has done a good job making sure we don't have any problem. We seem to be running with good reliability, so now we try to gather as many information as we can and try to assess a little bit ourselves compared to the opposition and see what we can do for Riyadh.
GEOX Dragon Racing, a little bit like Nissan, you would have just seen with some of the images on screen. In testing, didn't run a proper livery, so Nissan run a completely black car, likewise with Dragon. However, Nissan did put out their new livery, which is looking very nice. Dragon haven't done so just yet, so apologies, you're getting these black images of their car. However, this is a team that have struggled over the last couple of years, 10th in the standings. However, they're a team that are really gutsy. So far, all of the teams we've spoke about have been works teams, manufacturer teams, except Virgin, which is supplied by Audi. Mercedes supply Mercedes, Audi supply Audi, Nissan supply Nissan, Mahindra supply Mahindra. However, Dragon, not a racing company as in a manufacturer, they still provide their own powertrain. 58 races, they've been there from the start, 9 podiums, 2 wins. Last year had Maxi Gunther and Jose Maria Lopez. This year, 2 rookies. The first of those, Brendan Hartley, the Kiwi himself, hailing from New Zealand. You will most likely know him from either his time in the World Endurance Championship or his brief stint in Formula 1 last year with Toro Rosso alongside Pierre Gasly, another driver that did a brief stint in Formula E for a couple of races. Brendan, I think, will feel a little bit hard done by. He was the Porsche test driver for their Formula E team, or Porsche, I should say. I'm still getting used to that. He was their test driver. However, he didn't get the go-ahead for that team. They picked someone else. We'll talk about them a little bit later on. However, Brendan, I think, showed signs of pace in Formula E, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. However, it's his teammate, I think, is the more exciting of the two. Nico Muller, in his rookie year of Formula E, 27 years old, so not the youngest driver on the grid, not the youngest rookie, and doesn't have the best junior credentials. However, last year, he was the Formula E Audi Sport test and reserve driver. So whenever there was a young driver program, he would always do that. Always at the top of their timesheets, always looking quick. And at one stage of last season, it wouldn't have surprised me if he got the go-ahead to go to Audi instead of Daniel Abt. Watch out for this man. I think he's a real talent. Moving on to a team that is technically a new team. Again, Formula E teams are a funny business sometimes, but Neo 333. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, well, hang on a second, Dan. Neo were in Formula E last year. I know they were at the back, but I'm pretty sure they were there. Well, technically, the team still named Neo has been bought out by 333, and they have requested that it's a new team. It's a new entry. So on the official statistics, no races, no podiums, no wins. And to make matters worse, they're using the Dragon powertrain from last season. Last year, when they were known as Neo, yeah, this is how awkward this gets, 11th, last place in the standings. Basically, if you're a Formula 1 fan, this is the Williams equivalent. Apologies, Williams fans. 20th for Oliver Turvey in the championship, 23rd for Tom Dillman, and Tom Dillman, the only driver to complete every single race and not pick up a point. He has been dropped. Oliver Turvey remains, and he is still widely regarded by I'd say 90% of the Formula E drivers themselves say this man is the most underrated and deserves to be further up the grid. Only one podium in his Formula E history. That came a couple of years back now in Season 4 in Mexico. Was on pole that day and drove a brilliant race. P2 in the end, but a brilliant job from Oliver Turvey. He's a driver that even in last year's atrocious Neo car was picking up points. Finishing P20 was a brilliant job, and a driver that consistently goes under the radar, and I just hope the form in testing isn't as bad as it looks so far. The other driver in their car is a questionable one. Ma QINGHUA, Chinese driver, has previously driven for the Neo team, did 9 races back in Season 4, wasn't very good. I'm trying to be as positive as I can. All respect to him, this is a man that is the only Chinese person to ever contest in a Formula 1 session. So, credit where credit's due. I just think there were better options. However, he does bring a considerable amount of money to a team that really needs it, looking at the last few years. Moving on to a team with a little bit more promise, however, a little bit more risk in their season this year, Venturi. They're going to retain the same lineup of last year. Felipe Massa, who I'm guessing most of you are aware who Felipe Massa is, he's staying with the team for a second season, and Edoardo Mortara is staying with the team for a third season. The big change, though, and the big risk, is the Venturi powertrain is gone. Completely gone from Formula E. Wasn't very reliable last year, to be completely honest. They're joining with Mercedes. Now, it's a little bit questionable, considering that the team principal is Susie Wolff and Toto Wolff is the team principal of Mercedes F1. However, in the long run, I think this will be a good move. It's just questionable whether for this year the team might have to take a step back, a little bit like Mercedes will, and then hope that a few years down the line it will pay off. Edoardo Mortara, the man who's been with the team now for 3 years, has driven 22 races in Formula E, picked up 3 podiums, and last year picked up his first victory, Venturi's first victory. Venturi almost won the very first race ever in Formula E. Please watch that race if you've never seen it. The ending is magical, for all the wrong reasons, but it's still magical. However, last year, Hong Kong, bit of an altercation for the first place man, Sam Bird. He got disqualified, and Edoardo Mortara claimed the team's first victory. Wasn't the best year, I think it's fair to say, for Mortara. A little bit inconsistent, but then, in all fairness, the car was a little bit inconsistent. Felipe Massa, well, it was his first year in racing. His first real chance of a Formula E car last year wasn't that bad. A podium in his debut season, just like Vandoorne, just the one. However, unlike Vandoorne, he didn't get a pole position, but his podium did come at Monaco. That's pretty special. I'll give him that. A track that Massa knows very well. Struggled a few times there in Formula 1. However, in Formula E, drove a pretty awesome race. A pretty banging race. I think he'll want to improve those statistics this year. I just question again whether the car is really going to be up to it.
It's okay. It's a lot to work. I mean, for sure we have a new power unit. You know, Mercedes is just arriving now, you know, in the championship, like Porsche. Last year they were using completely different power unit like we were using in Venturi. So at the end, it's a lot to work, it's a lot to learn, it's a lot to trying to make things, you know, improve things. And as I said, I mean, it's a lot to understand for the first race.
Jaguar, one of the more inexperienced teams on the grid, but even saying that, this is going to be their 4th full year in Formula E. Blimey, how time flies. They're changing their lineup again for Season 6, and when I mean again, they started last year with Mitch Evans and Nelson Piquet Jr. Halfway through, they swapped out Piquet Jr., a brave move considering Piquet was a Formula E champion back in his day for Season 1. They brought in Alex Lynn. Now Lynn has gone out, and in comes James COLADO. Was rumours that Lynn would stay, was rumours that Nico Hülkenberg might get the seat. They've gone with COLADO. They're a team, as I just mentioned, inexperienced compared to some of the giants in Formula E. Only 37 races for Jaguar so far, 4 podiums, and last year, courtesy of Mitch Evans at the Rome Prix, the same race Stoffel Vandoorne got his first podium, Mitch Evans and Jaguar got their first victory. Mitch has been with Jaguar since day one. Jaguar's 4 podiums came from Mitch. Jaguar's 1 win came from Mitch, and he really has evolved in Formula E. Only 25 years old, is actually still one of the youngest drivers on the Formula E grid, and yet he's one of the more experienced drivers on the grid. Last year, for sure, was his strongest season in Formula E. His and Jaguar's strongest season in Formula E, finishing the season P5. However, that car wasn't brilliant. Mitch did some fantastic results. A 2nd place at the end of the year at the Swiss Prix. Watch out for Evans again this year. I can see Jaguar taking another step up. James COLADO, on the other hand, I think I speak for a lot of us in saying we're not really aware who he was. However, thanks to the man, the myth, the legend, Alex Zaffro. Thanks for the shout out, Alex, as well. That was pretty awesome. That was quite surreal for me. But Alex did a really awesome breakdown, so if you want to learn a little bit more about COLADO, go and check out Alex Zaffro's channel. However, the breakdown is his junior career a lot better than people give him credit for, beating out Formula 1 drivers such as Marcus Ericsson, Felipe Nasr, I was going to say Rio Haryanto, but that's not quite the biggest benchmark, but never really got a big chance in Formula 1 or a chance at all. So even COLADO, I think is definitely better than people will give him credit for. BMW, Andretti, Andretti Sport, yes, more awkward names, but again, we just call them BMW, us in the know. Raced ever since day one, however, the team weren't always BMW, Andretti. Initially they were just Andretti. Last year, the partnership really kicked into gear, and it was Da Costa in the first race of the year that picked up the team's first victory in their history. 10 podiums for the Andretti team, most of them coming last year, most of them coming from Antonio Felix Da Costa. However, Da Costa's gone. He's left BMW. Alex Sims, who struggled for the most part of last year, finished the season in an unlucky P13, did finally pick up a podium at the last weekend. Pick up a podium, that's a mouthful. But he did pick up one at the last weekend of the season in New York and has been given a second chance for this year. However, one of the biggest stories, not only from the off-season, but also pre-season, is Maxi Günther, a driver who last year drove for the uncompetitive Dragon car, was dropped after a handful of rounds, was replaced by Felipe Nasr, was then brought back in at round 7, the Rome Prix, and the Max that came back in that second half of the year was on fire. Many people feel, and even I would incline to agree, this man was the Rookie of the Year last year. Despite only doing 10 races, he's got a big move up to BMW. A German driver in a German car, I think, especially testing as well, top of the times, something special is on the way with BMW and Günther. Which means Alex Sims is going to need to pull something pretty special out the bag if he wants to keep his seat this year. I think he was lucky to remain at BMW for this year. There were glimpses last season of some real promise, and he was one of the more unlucky drivers, if you want to use that as a phrase, in the season last year. 13 victories, 13 races, 1 podium, no victories. He's the most experienced driver at the team, and I just wonder, BMW only in their second year, if that's going to hurt them in the long run. Moving to the team's champions from last year, and the driver's champion from last year, DS Techeetah, DS also known as Citroën. They are using a Citroën powertrain, or I should probably say as well, Jaguar and BMW, yes, they're using Jaguar and BMW powertrains. Lots of powertrain manufacturers in Formula E. I know, makes a change from Formula 1. Techeetah, with the DS power, Vern is sticking with them, and I don't blame him. They've won the last 2 Drivers' Championships with that combo. 37 races, so the same amount as Jaguar. However, 8 victories, 22 podiums. Last year, Vern was champion and Andre Lotterer was P8. However, a Lotterer, I think, was a little bit robbed in the second half of the year. He was really pushing on, and for a good chunk of the year was ahead of Vern. However, Vern, in those final 5 or 6 rounds, turned it up a notch and proved why he is champion. Vern himself has only missed out 2 races in Formula E, and they were the very first couple of races ever in the sport. He's driven for multiple teams, including the Andretti team, including Virgin, but has found a permanent home now at Techeetah. 8 victories, 20 podiums in his career, and despite not having the most podiums or the most wins, he does have the most championships of any driver, both of them coming in the last 2 years. He started off the season last year in disappointing fashion. I don't expect that to happen this year. The competition is going to be another level up, and Vern is going to have to cut out some of those silly mistakes he made at the beginning of the year. But let's not count out John-Eric Vern. Likewise with his teammate Antonio Felix Da Costa, the man who left BMW, has now joined Techeetah. Now, looking at this at face value, Da Costa is being a bit brave, going up against the champion, but I think this is the real situation where the Portuguese is really going to thrive. He currently doesn't have 5 victories. That's incorrect. Only has 2 victories in Formula E. But he has proven time and time again he is quick. Another one I think you should watch out for, and I think this is a perfect move for Da Costa.
I really like the black and gold. I think it looks pimp. And the car does need to look good to be able to win races. I've never seen an ugly car winning races, so we've got that part right. But yeah, obviously joining the winning team, you know, there's not a single stress in my mind that I know these guys will be right up there. You know, Valencia doesn't matter so much. The track characteristics are not so much Formula E related. But you know, we've always seen that whoever's quick here usually has a good car for the season. So we've been fast so far, yesterday and today. Same last year. So yeah, really confident for the year. It's been a really cool experience to get to know everyone here, and new challenge, and every day you learn so much, and I've missed that feeling a little bit. So yeah, big challenge ahead, but really looking forward.
And the final team we're going to be talking about today, I know, big sigh of relief, we have made it, is Porsche. I will say now, apologies if multiple times this year I call them Porsche. Even Felipe Massa in the video earlier on, he calls it Porsche. I'm trying, I'm learning, I'm getting better. Now that's out the way, brand new team for Season 6 is Porsche. So we can't read anything into previous years. We can look at how HWA fared last year, and I think it'll be a similar story for Porsche this year. They've got an experienced driver in Andre Lotterer. He was Jon-Erik Verne's teammate last year at Techeetah. He was a Porsche factory driver, so it makes sense he's moved to Porsche. However, you do get the vibe it's going to have to be a long-term project. I don't expect this team to jump into Formula E and win races. Their pre-season form backs me up on that by quite a bit, but never read into testing fully. Lotterer's credentials look a little bit like this. 25 races in his Formula E career, so he's only going into his 3rd year, relatively unexperienced for a 37-year-old. Has done 1 Formula 1 race in his time, back in 2013 for the Belgian Grand Prix for the incredible team known as Caterham. 4 podiums and no victories. Came so close last year in Rome. Everything was going on in Rome apparently. So close, but Mitch Evans took it away from him. He did get his first pole position in Rome, but this is a big chance for him to really assert himself as a team leader and to really prove himself in Formula E. His teammate and the final driver on the grid, and then we can all go to bed. We can all put our feet up and just relax. Our final driver is Neil Yarni, another one that I'm going to struggle to pronounce, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below how you say this one. A driver I think will be okay for them. 2 races so far in Formula E, both of them coming for Dragon at the beginning of Season 4, was a little bit underwhelming and decided to move away from the Dragon team for the rest of the year. He also tested with Porsche last year. I said Porsche, sorry. He tested with Porsche with Brendan Hartley last year. So that's what he was doing last year, working with this team, developing this car. He's already intertwined with that team. So maybe he could spring a surprise as well. But I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. I will be doing a predictions video and a beginner's guide, a full beginner's guide video over the next few weeks. So if you've made it this far, blimey, hats off to you for going half an hour listening to this. Well played. But if you've made it this far and you're not subscribed, feel free to do so. Put your predictions in the comments below and maybe I will steal some of them for my own video. Thank you very much for watching and I hope to see you in the next one.